Hey everybody, just want to share a quick little insight from my study journal conference this morning. While I was on my run, I was listening to the October 1930 General Conference, and Sylvester Q, who is the presiding bishop, was talking. This is shortly before he becomes an apostle. And Sylvester Q. was talking about the necessity and the importance of work. And specifically he talks about the duality of not working enough and also working too much. And I thought it was really interesting and timely. He talks about the fact that with the economic conditions of that day, that many people had started to feel like that they needed to work 7 days a week. And he goes, this is not right. The Lord has commanded us that we should do our labor in 6 days so that we can have the seventh day as a Sabbath day, a day to worship him. And I just look around us today as our industry is all just geared towards the 7 days a week. We need to have all the services every single day of the week, and we're forgetting that commandment. But then he also talks about the fact that people are starting to shorten the work week, and I start to see this with the coming AI revolution. A lot of people talk about the fact that people will maybe not even have jobs, will have universal basic income, and Sylvester Q. is like, no, we need to work. We are commanded to work. The Lord has said that the idler will not wear the garment and will not be counted worthy. And so I think it's very important to understand that within the gospel framework, that we are creatures of work. And why are we creatures of work? Because we're creatures of creation. We are children of our Heavenly Father. Heavenly Father works. Heavenly Father creates. When we work, we are creating something with our hands. When we don't work, when we are idle, when we simply draw a check from the government, when we're on welfare, when we expect a universal basic income, when we expect something for nothing, when we buy into a socialist or communist idea or utopia, we are trying to invalidate the words of the Lord, that the idler shall not work. And I think it's very important that as we navigate the coming craziness, that we realize that we should always expect to work. And now another aspect of this is retirement. Retirement is not a gospel principle. A lot of people think, oh yes, I will work until I reach a certain age and then I get 7 days a week of pleasure. That's not the gospel. The Lord did not say 6 days shalt thou labor, and on the seventh you shall rest until you are 65, and then 7 days a week you shall golf. When we have the ability to retire from our financial labors that are necessary to survive, that is when the Lord expects us to invest our time and effort in building the kingdom even more. I think of my neighbor. My neighbor, when he retired, what he started to do was he would go 6 months on, 6 months off of missions. And that was his way of continuing to work, because retirement, especially from building the kingdom, is not an attribute of celestial life. We should be engaged in working physically, mentally, or spiritually. And that was a message of Sylvester Q. And I think it's a message worthy of repeating today. Because when we try to live and find a life outside that message, we are trying to find a message and life outside of God's order.